AI never sleeps, and this week has been absolutely insane. OpenAI drops their latest model, GPT 5.2. Alibaba releases a very useful video tool that allows you to control the motion of objects in the video by drawing trajectories. We have an AI that can edit videos in real time. You can insert or replace anything with just a prompt. This AI can create 3D stereo videos. We have an open source AI agent that can autonomously operate your phone. This AI can easily remove window reflections from a photo. We have a new image model that's crazy fast. It can generate an image in like a second. We have another image model that's really good at generating anime, and this is also super lightweight. This is now the best open source AI you can use for animating any character. We also have a top 3D model generator that can make objects in separate parts, and a lot more. So let's jump right in. First up, this AI is actually super useful. Have you ever taken a photo through a window and there were some really annoying reflections in the photo? Well, these are really hard to remove traditionally with Photoshop. But now we have this new AI that can just magically remove all these reflections. So here are some examples. Here's the before, and then after plugging it through this AI, here's the after. Or here's another example. Here's the before, here's the after. This one is super messy with raindrops, but after plugging it through this AI, look how clean this is. Or here's another example. Here's the before and here's the after. It even corrects the brightness and contrast and the colors. This is so good. Or if you're at a zoo and you're trying to photograph this animal through a window, it can be super annoying, but you can just plug it through this AI and here's what you get. Here's another awesome use case where if you're on a plane and you want to photograph something outside, usually you're going to get a ton of really ugly reflections, but you can just plug it through this AI to clean everything up. Here's another super messy example, but it's able to clean everything really well. Anyways, there are a ton of examples on this page, but just note that this is really good at cleaning up window reflections in your image. In fact, this is the best one you can use right now. So if you compare this with other tools like DSIT or RDNet or DAI, notice that this new one, Window Seat, just outperforms the rest in terms of removing reflections in photos, whether it's different lighting conditions. Here are some quantitative results for your reference, where the bold values are the best scores, and as you can see, Window Seat consistently scores the highest compared with these other alternatives. Here's another table with some other metrics. The awesome thing is, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released a GitHub repo, and if you click into it, this contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. Notice that this is a LoRa for Qwen Image Edit. So even though here it says you need a CUDA GPU with 24 gigabytes of VRAM, because this is using Qwen Image Edit and there are already more quantized compressed versions of this, you can comfortably run this with low VRAM. In fact, if you want to learn more about Qwen Image Edit, definitely see this video where I go over how to install and use it. Anyways, back to here, all the links are on the top of this page, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, we have another AI image generator. This one is called RealGen, and as the name implies, this is a model that can generate super realistic images. So here are just a few examples for your reference. Look at how realistic these images are. Now, how they designed this is actually quite intuitive. So they basically added this detector reward mechanism, which helps the model figure out how realistic the generated image is, and it makes adjustments to improve it. So this mechanism uses these detectors that basically look at the image and check for things like artifacts or unrealistic features. So if it looks too plasticky or the person has overly smooth skin, then that's a bad sign. In the simplest sense, this detector reward mechanism basically rewards the model if it doesn't contain these flaws, if it can generate a realistic looking image. So after going through this training, after it gets rewarded for generating more realistic images, the model now outperforms other state-of-the-art models, at least in terms of realism. So here's the same prompt. This new RealGen is on the far right. If you compare this with the other models like Flux or Flux Context, Qwen Image, GPT, or even Flux Korea, which is already a realistic fine-tune of Flux, you can see that this RealGen is even more realistic. Here are some other examples for your reference. Notice it even has some like photographic grainy effect plus some motion blur here. This looks super realistic. Here's another example. It's really hard to tell that this was AI generated. Here's yet another example. Anyways, the nice thing is if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released a GitHub repo, And if you scroll down a bit, on it, it contains all the instructions on how to download and actually train the model yourself using this detector reward mechanism. The link is up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Alibaba continues to cook. So they just released a new AI tool called Wan-Move, and this allows you to control the motion of objects in the video simply by drawing trajectories on the start frame. So here are some examples. On the top row is the start frame, and you can basically draw how you want things to move in the video, and then on the bottom row is the resulting video. With this feature, it gives you precise control over how anything moves in the video. Here are some other examples for your reference. You can get the dude to do sit-ups, and then notice in the middle column, it even follows the laws of physics. So if you try to tilt this kettle, plus if you prompt it to pour out yellow liquid into the cup, that's indeed what it does. Now, you don't have to just draw one trajectory, you can draw multiple trajectories on the start frame. For example, if you look at the center column, you can move all 4 of these characters at once, and here's what you get. And if you compare this to the best proprietary option out there, Kling 1.5 Pro, this new Wan-Move actually performs even better. So here's one example for your reference. Notice that for Kling, the feet of the kid are all messed up, but for Wan-Move, it's a lot more consistent and less error prone. Here are some other examples for your reference. Notice that here for Wan-Move, it's a lot more physically correct. Here's another example where it understands what this spray bottle is. Now, this can do more than just moving objects within the video. You can even control for the entire camera movement. For example, you can get it to pan up, down, left, right, or you can get it to dolly in or out, or zoom in and out like this. Anyways, the awesome thing is they've released everything already. So at the top here, if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. However, if I click on this official one, the total size of this Wan-Move file is around almost 70 gigabytes in size, which is hard to fit with most consumer GPUs. Fortunately, if you scroll up a bit, there's already an integration for Comfy UI, and this code called Kijai released an FP8 version, which is more compressed. And if I click on this one, it's only 16 gigabytes, so this can likely fit within 16 gigabytes with some offloading. Anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is incredible. So ZAI, which is the company behind one of the best open source models out there called GLM, they've released Open AutoGLM this week. This is an AI agent that can autonomously operate your phone. It can do various things on your phone like navigating through apps, sending messages, and even making payments. So here are some examples. You can simply prompt it to find the top-rated cinemas nearby and navigate there by foot on Google Maps. And it's actually searching for cinema and then going to Google Maps and then figuring out how to get there by foot. Notice that it did all of this autonomously without any human intervention. Or here's another example where we can get it to like the top 3 posts from Andrei Karpathy on X and then summarize them. So it proceeds to search on X for this user, and then it clicks on the user, and then it knows how to scroll down and then find the first 3 posts. It's also tapping like on the first 3 posts and then providing a summary on the 3 posts. Here are some other examples for your reference, so you can easily get it to write an email for you on anything you want and send it to anyone or reply to anyone. You can easily get it to navigate Google Maps and find anything you want, or you can get it to do shopping for you. You can go on Temu and find these running shoes, and it even knows how to add it to cart and then go to checkout. The awesome thing is they've made this open source, as with their other models. And this is only 9 billion parameters, so this is fairly small to download. If you click on this Hugging Face link and you click on Files and Versions, the model is roughly like 18 gigabytes in size. It might not fit on most smartphones yet, but this can definitely fit comfortably in a consumer-grade GPU on your computer where you can run an Android simulator to test this out. Anyways, all the download links are up here, plus there's more technical details on this page, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, we have a new 3D model generator. It's called MoCA, and this is really good for generating complex 3D objects and scenes from a reference image. Not only that, but it also separates the 3D models into meaningful parts so you can edit these afterwards if you want. Here are some examples. If you input this image of a dinosaur, well, here's the 3D model you get from that, and if I zoom in, notice that it's able to capture all the details and markings of this dinosaur, plus it's able to break this down into meaningful parts. So we can explode this, and here's what you get. This is super useful because you can edit each part further, or you can animate this by choosing the joints where it should move. Or here's another example. Let's say we input this image. Here is what we get. Again, notice how detailed everything is. It was actually able to capture most of the details of the original reference image. And then you can choose to explode this further, and here's what you get. Or here's a super tricky mecha robot. After plugging it through here, this is our resulting 3D model. It's able to capture all the details, plus it's even able to kind of guess what the back of this robot would look like, even though it doesn't have this data from the original image. And then afterwards, you can also choose to explode it like this. Anyways, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and it's quite empty for now, but they do plan to release the code and the model for this, which is fantastic. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, Google released an update to their text-to-speech model, which is based off of Gemini 2.5 Pro. So it's just a minor update. This is not Gemini 3 text-to-speech, but it's still really good. So here they say this new text-to-speech has enhanced expressivity, so it has richer tone and stricter adherence to style prompts. It's able to understand the context in your sentence and generate much better pacing. And it's also more consistent. The awesome thing about Google Text-to-Speech is it can handle multiple speakers and languages and accents and emotions. So here are some examples.
Okay, prepare to be absolutely blown away. This app, it highlights the incredible style control you get with Gemini's new TTS models. Seriously, try it. Start one of your meetings with an introduction from our samples. Then the best bit, make your own.
Hey, I literally just got out of the ocean, so if I sound a bit salty, that's why. Can you hear the waves behind me? The energy out here today is just... No, it's actually insane. It's so light. Wait, stay still. You have a little bit of technical debt right there.
Now, you can give this a try right now in Google's AI Studio, which is free to use. So on Google AI Studio, down here, you should see this text-to-speech button. And if you click on this, here is where you can generate some text-to-speech. Now, you can choose from single speaker or multi-speaker. Let's just do a quick single speaker example. Here is where you can choose different voices. Let me just play you some of the default voices.
Ready to build something awesome today?
Got a project in mind? What do you want to explore?
All right, so let's choose this first one. And then here is where you can specify the style or the tone of the voice. So let me paste in this sentence and then write a very angry and expressive voice.
I can't believe you do this to me, you absolute traitor!
All right, that's not too bad. Here's another example. This time, let's make it a sad voice. And up here, let's change this to sad.
I never thought I would have to say goodbye so soon. And now that you're gone, every moment feels like an endless ache in my heart.
So you can see it does noticeably sound sadder. Next, let's just try a neutral tone, and let's get her to speak the sentence with a ton of different languages.
Clouds haben Sohlen. El gato condujo el coche. 我吃了一桶鸡肉饭。猫が車を運転しました。 Les nuages ont une âme. Pas de longue atmahutie. 구름에는 영혼이 있어요. Die Katze fuhr das Auto.
Now, I could spot some errors with this for some languages. They don't sound entirely correct. So at least from this example, it doesn't seem to be that good at handling multiple languages. Anyways, that is the latest Gemini text-to-speech, and you can try this out for free in Google's AI Studio. If you're interested, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, if you're into open source generation, then this tool is an absolute game changer. So this company called DiffSynth Studio just released Qwen Image to LoRa, or I2L for short. This is a really quick way for you to create LoRAs for Qwen Image. If you're not familiar with the term LoRA, this is basically a fine-tuned image model which can capture a specific character or pose or art style or whatever. For example, if you use this LoRA, it can generate this flat color style. If you use this LoRA, it can create some really realistic amateur looking photos. And then we also have LoRAs for pretty much any character out there. We also have this LoRA for like extracting the outfits of someone, or another LoRA for turning an anime image into a real looking photo. Basically, LoRAs enable you to insert any predetermined thing into an image, such as a character or an art style or an effect. Now, traditionally, in order to train a LoRA, you need to feed it a ton of images of a certain character or effect or object, plus it takes a lot of compute and time to train the damn thing. But this new tool, Qwen Image I2L, is just way faster. First of all, this can work with just one image. That's right, you can create a LoRA with just one reference image. But of course, the more images you have, the better quality and more consistent the LoRA will be. Plus, this also removes the need for some GPU-intensive compute, so you can train a LoRA super quickly in just like a few seconds. So here are some examples. Let's say you upload these 5 images to train a LoRA with, and then afterwards you can use this LoRA to generate a cat, a dog, and a girl, and notice that it's able to keep the same style as your reference images. Or here's another example. You can plug in these 4 images to train a LoRA, and this LoRA is of course going to generate pencil sketch images, and then afterwards you can get it to generate a cat, a dog, or a girl like this. Or here's another example where these are the training images, and then here are the generations from the trained LoRA. The awesome thing is they've released everything on Hugging Face already. Note that they released 4 models here, each with different use cases. So for example, the first one is used to generate a certain art style. They also have some other models which you can read the description of on this page. And in addition to this, there's actually a ton of free Hugging Face spaces which you can use online to just train a model online in a few seconds. So for example, let's just click on this one, and here's where you can train a LoRA. So let's input like these 6 images and click Generate LoRA, and note how fast this is. It's like generating this in only 20 seconds, which is way faster than what was required previously. Plus, this only takes like a handful of images. So afterwards, after this is generated, we can choose to download the LoRA, and then we can also try using this LoRA to generate an image. So let's click Generate Image. You know, the funny thing is, generating the image takes even longer than just training the LoRA. So as you can see here, it takes like 48 seconds. And here's what we get. Indeed, this follows the art style of our input images. Anyways, that's Qwen Image I2L. This is a super useful tool, especially if you're into open source image generation. You can now train LoRAs in like seconds. If you're interested, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Speaking of AI tools, you've got to check out Lovart, the sponsor of this video. Lovart is the ultimate creative tool powered by AI. You can get it to create posters, media kits, app designs, and even entire video commercials with sound. They've just added Nano Banana Pro, which makes it extremely easy to create and edit assets with the best image generator out there. I can drag and drop these images of a model plus these items, and let's get her to wear this blue dress and pink handbag walking down a fashion show runway. And here's what we get. Or I can upload a ton of product images and get it to autonomously make some Black Friday sale posters, and here's the result. It made all of this in just seconds without me having to manually design anything. Or here's another example. I can upload this floor plan and get it to create realistic images of this room. And it was able to create these fully furnished photos of this room in seconds. They also have this really useful touch edit feature which allows you to click on and select any assets and then modify them or merge them together using natural language. It understands the full context, including the content within your images, so you can precisely combine and edit images however you want. They also have this really handy edit elements feature which allows you to instantly separate any image into layers, including the foreground, the background, and the objects. You can edit each layer without affecting anything else in the image. This makes it super useful for micro-editing certain elements in your image. Lovart is the ultimate AI platform for design. Try it for free via the link in the description below. Next up, this AI tool is super useful for animating characters. It's called one-to-all animation, and this basically takes a reference photo of any character plus a pose animation, and it would apply the movements onto this new character. Note how consistent everything is. And the movements are super realistic. And it doesn't just have to work with anime characters. So here's another example of this 3D animation. Also note that the body proportions are not really normal. The head is much bigger than the body, but it's still able to animate everything correctly. Here's another really strange character with abnormal proportions, but it's still able to animate this very well. Now, while this does look good from far away, there are some noticeable flaws if you look at the hands and fingers. And then also for some characters, especially if you get them to dance from far away, then there is some noise and artifacts with the face at times. Here's another example for your reference. So it's not perfect, especially the hands and fingers, but for everything else, it's not bad. Now, a few weeks ago, I featured another tool called Wan-Animate by Alibaba. This can also take a reference image of a character and then a reference video and basically apply the movements of the video onto the new character. It's essentially the same thing, but Wan-Animate can also do expressions and lip sync. For this one to all, it doesn't really do expressions and lip sync that well, but at least in terms of dancing videos and just overall body movements, it is more consistent with Wan-Animate. So here's one example. As you can see here, there's a lot of noise with Wan-Animate, especially in the background, whereas this new one to all, remains very consistent, even though this video is like over 20 seconds long. Here's another example for your reference, and as you can see for Wan, the arms and the hands just warp considerably in the video. There are a ton of errors with Wan-Animate, but for this new one to all, she just remains a lot more coherent throughout the entire animation. And also her face remains the same. Here's another example for your reference, and again for Wan-Animate, there's just a ton of noise and distortions with the generation. Like, I've been using Wan-Animate and it's not this bad, so they might be cherry picking here. I'm not sure why there's this many errors. Maybe they're not using a high enough step count. But anyways, as you can see for this example, again, one to all just animates this character a lot better. The awesome thing is, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released the model. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, this contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. They even released the code on how you can train this from scratch, which is super useful. And the awesome thing is, this is already integrated into Kijai's Wan Video Wrapper. So if you check out Kijai's Hugging Face repo and you click into this one-to-all animation folder, he has released two different models. This one is for Wan 14B, and this one is 37 gigabytes in size, so you'll need a really high-end GPU to run this. However, he also released this one, this 1.3 billion parameter version, which is only 4.4 gigabytes in size, so this should fit comfortably in most consumer GPUs. Anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Also this week, ZAI releases another banger. If you're not familiar with ZAI, this is the company behind GLM, which is one of the most performant open source models you can use right now. And this week, they released GLM 4.6 Vision. This is basically a multimodal model with native tool use, so think of this as like an AI agent that can autonomously just go out and do things. Plus, it has vision capabilities, so you can also feed it images or documents for it to parse and analyze. Here are some examples for your reference. You can feed it this PDF and it's able to, read through the document and parse everything out, including the figures and all the images, as you can see here. Plus, it's doing this like an agent. It's planning how to analyze this step by step, kind of like Manus or GenSpark, and then it's giving you the result. Or here's another example. Because this is a vision model, you can also upload this image of a shoe and ask it to identify this shoe via web search. And again, because this is an agent, it's able to go online and actually, search for this image and also find other images for you. Here's another really awesome use case for this. If you want to just copy the design of another website, you can just take a screenshot of that website and then paste it into here and get it to generate the HTML code for this website. And here's what you get. And then you can prompt it further to change the background or change the layout to whatever you want. You can also copy and paste some other reference images for it to generate some additional pages. Note that GLM has always been my go-to coding model, and this is still one of my favorite models for coding. Everything just works and it has very few errors. Here they say that GLM 4.6v also has very good long context understanding. So it has a visual encoder with this context window, and this equates to around 150 pages of complex documents, or 200 slides, or an hour-long video. So here's an example where we can feed it these financial reports, which have a total of 64 pages, and get it to analyze everything, and it's able to do so very well. Or here's an example where we can feed it this video and get it to summarize the match scores and provide timestamps for each goal, and it's actually able to quote-unquote watch the video and analyze it frame by frame and give you the timestamps of all your specified events. The awesome thing is, as with their previous models, they've open sourced this, so the model is already on Hugging Face or ModelScope. Notice that in addition to this full version, they've also released a compressed FP8 version and this smaller Flash version. It seems like this Flash version has gotten the most downloads, so let's click on this and see how large this is. All right, so the Flash version is actually very small. It's only 20 gigabytes in size, so this can fit comfortably with like mid to high-end consumer-grade GPUs. So if you're looking for a very capable and performant vision agent which you can run locally on your computer, GLM 4.6v is currently your best option. If you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, Snapchat releases EgoEdit. This is pretty wild. This allows you to edit videos in real time with just a prompt. So it's kind of like Nano Banana. You can just use a prompt to change the video however you want, and it applies this in real time. Here are some examples. At the top is your original video, but you can prompt it to add a corgi into the scene like this. Or we can replace this bag with a violin, or we can prompt it to change this water into lava. Notice that here it says it can edit all these videos pretty much in real time on a single H100 with just 855 milliseconds of latency. So here are some other examples for your reference. You can change this mouse into a banana, or this apple into a rabbit, or this pillow into a basketball. There's a ton of examples on this page, but I hope you can see how this can potentially be super useful, especially for virtual or augmented reality. In the future, I think smart glasses are definitely going to be a thing, and we might have this AI living locally in our AR glasses where we can just prompt it to change or replace anything we see. So if you're like me and you can't get a girlfriend in real life, well, you can just prompt this AI to make a girlfriend for you. But all jokes aside, I mean, there are a ton of potential applications for this. Now, there are a ton of examples on this page. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go over everything, but if you scroll up, they have released a GitHub repo, and here it seems like they are planning to release at least the dataset and the benchmark for evaluating the quality of such videos. However, there's no mention here whether they will actually release the model called EgoEdit. A pretty cool and potentially useful tool nonetheless, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI image generator is really good. It's called TwinFlow, and the advantage of this is it's crazy fast. Now, before we go into TwinFlow, here's some context. You see, the foundation behind all image generators we know of today is the diffusion model. This is basically an AI that is trained to take an image of noise like this, and then at every step take away some of that noise, step after step, until eventually it generates your prompted image. Now, in the past, for models like Stable Diffusion, it required like 20 to 30 steps to actually get rid of enough noise and generate a decent looking image. And then for the most recent Z image, this is the best open source image model we have so far. This one still requires like 7 to 10 steps. All right, so each step is basically taking away some of this noise to generate your final image. Now, the crazy thing about TwinFlow is you can generate an image in as little as just one step. So it's kind of like just skipping all these middle steps. It's taking this random noise and it's able to generate a fully defined image. So obviously with such a reduction in the step count, this can generate images way faster. So here's an example of how fast TwinFlow is compared to the regular Qwen Image. So you can see in just 5.2 seconds, it's able to generate 4 images, whereas for Qwen Image using this same hardware, it takes like 126 seconds to generate this. And note that the quality of TwinFlow is pretty much the same or even better. The speed of this is just absolutely insane. Here are some other generations for your reference. You can see everything is super detailed and realistic. Now, right now they just applied TwinFlow to Qwen Image Edit, but what's really exciting is over here, they say they're also working on Z-Image Turbo, which is currently the #1 open source image model. I'm really excited for them to release this. I mean, this is already super fast. I can generate an image in like 6 seconds with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Once they implement TwinFlow for Z-Image, I can probably generate an image in less than a second, which is crazy to think about. The awesome thing is they've released everything already. So if you click on this GitHub repo, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. If you click on their Hugging Face repo in files and versions, notice that they released basically this fine-tune of Qwen Image with TwinFlow built in, and the total size of the transformer is like 40 gigabytes in size, but I'm sure because this is open source, the community is really quickly going to release a quantized version of this that can run on lower VRAM. Anyways, all the links are up here, so if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Now, around 2 weeks ago, the best open source image generator out there called Z-Image was released. This is super good at creating realistic images and other art styles, plus it's good at prompt understanding and also creating uncensored stuff. And it's also blazing fast. However, if you just want to generate anime images, then this new model might be even better for you. So it's called NewBie Image Experimental 01. What a mouthful of a name just for their first image generator. But anyways, this is an image model that is specifically trained to do well with anime images. Here are some examples for your reference, and the really awesome thing is, this is only 3.5 billion parameters in size, which is like almost half the size of Z-Image Turbo. So the quantized versions of this can definitely fit comfortably on most consumer-grade GPUs, or you might not even need a GPU at all. This might even work with just like a regular Intel CPU. And the awesome thing is they've released everything already. So on this page, which I'll link to in the description below, here it contains all the models you need to download, plus all the instructions on how to download and run this locally. They've even released instructions on how you can train LoRa's for this model, which is fantastic. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is pretty neat. It's called StereoWorld, and this can convert a regular video into 3D videos with depth perception. These are called stereo videos, and you'll need to watch it with 3D glasses, with the left lens showing the left video and the right lens showing the right video to actually see this in 3D. And if you view it that way, then the video actually looks like 3D. You'll perceive some depth in these videos. So what this AI does is it basically takes the original video and it alters it slightly for the right and the left lenses so that there's a sense of depth involved if you view this with like stereo glasses. So here's another example. If you're just looking at this from like your phone or computer screen, then it's really hard to tell that this is 3D. But apparently this is the best stereo video generator right now. It even outperforms other state-of-the-art methods. So if you look at this table here, note that this new one, StereoWorld, which is on the bottom row, on average gets the best benchmark score in terms of visual quality, geometric consistency, and temporal stability, compared with other competitors like StereoCrafter, which I've gone over on my channel before. Now, how they trained it is really interesting. So they fed it over 11 million video frames, and the dataset includes the video for the right lens and the left lens, but also a depth map of the scene. And all these inputs are then plugged through this diffusion transformer model so that it can learn how to parse and create depth in a video. And then after training this model, then if you just plug in a regular video, this model can then convert this into, 2 videos, one for the left and right lens with depth. Anyways, for now, they've only released a technical paper on it. There's no indication whether they will open source this or not, but if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this page in the description below. Next up, this AI is also really useful. It's called MoCap Anything, and this can basically capture the movement of any object or character from a video. So it doesn't just have to be a hot girl dancing. You can also capture the movement of a fish or a giraffe or whatever. So here's an example. If you have video of, like a bird or this wolf or this sheep, here's the ground truth or basically what the pose should look like. And then here is the prediction from this new AI model. And as you can see, it's actually able to get it pretty close to to the ground truth. If you compare this to another competitor called Genzu Skeleton, it's not even close. Here are some other examples for your reference of different animals. It doesn't matter if it's a flamingo with a super long neck or if it's this lizard thing here. It's able to capture the movements very well, especially if you compare this to the ground truth. Now, of course, it doesn't have to just do animals. You can also apply this to characters like this. It doesn't matter if their dimensions are kind of weird. It's still able to capture the pose and even the fingers of the characters very accurately, as you can see here. Now, it doesn't have to be just a character isolated on a white background. It can also just capture the movement of anything in a regular video. Pretty impressive how it's even able to, infer the movement of this crab. And also this fish. I mean, I didn't even know a pose skeleton of a fish would look like this, but here you go. Now, here's an even cooler thing. You can take the movement of an animal and apply that to the pose of another animal. So let's say we have this crocodile. You can actually apply its movements to this eagle pose, and here's what you get. And then here are some other examples for your reference. Or we can also apply the poses of some human characters to some animal poses. And of course, we can also do the reverse. We can apply the movements from animals to human poses. So this tool is super flexible. Here's a pretty funny one. You can apply the snake movement to this human, and here's what you get. Now, if you scroll up to the top of the page, for now, they've only released a technical paper on this. There's no indication whether they will release this yet, but if you're interested in reading further, there are a ton of examples on this page, so I'll link to this in the description below. Also this week, OpenAI drops their latest model, GPT 5.2. Now here, they were quite specific with what this model is good at. Their first sentence says this is the most capable model for professional knowledge work. So there seems to be more emphasis on this point specifically. And if you look at this benchmark called GDP Val, which tests an AI model's performance on real-world work tasks across 44 jobs from the top 9 industries, you can see that in the previous version, GPT-5 Thinking was not able to beat an expert-level human most of the time. However, for both GPT 5.2 Pro and Thinking, they were able to beat an expert-level human more than half the time. So, I mean, this model is already as good as expert-level human workers out there in a ton of jobs. Here are some other benchmarks for your reference comparing GPT 5.2 with Opus 4.5 and Gemini 3 Pro across these different benchmarks. Overall, GPT 5.2, at least according to these benchmarks, are better at multi-step logical reasoning and agentic coding. Here's another key point. They also claim that this is much better at understanding things across huge context windows. So you can feed it a ton of info like an entire codebase or like a ton of long documents, and it's able to find information much better than the previous versions of GPT. Here it says it's the first model that achieves near 100% accuracy on this benchmark. You can see that it's able to achieve close to 100% accuracy even if you give it a really long prompt which spans 256,000 tokens. Whereas for GPT 5.1, the accuracy kind of tapers off as soon as you fit more information into your prompt. Apparently, it's also really good at analyzing and understanding scientific figures. So this benchmark is called Charkive Reasoning, and 5.2 performs very well at 88.7%. It's also very good at understanding screens. Next, if you're wondering where you can use this, note that 5.2 is currently available for all paid plans. If you're on the free plan, then you can't access this yet. Now, this is just a really high-level overview of GPT 5.2. I'm actually planning to do a full review video on it. I'll probably release it Monday or Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna go way more in-depth over what it can and cannot do. For now, if you're interested in reading more, I'll link to this announcement page in the description below. Also this week, French startup Mistral releases another model. This time it's called Devstral 2, and this is their latest coding model family. It's available in 2 sizes. One is 123 billion parameters, and then there's also this Devstral Small 2, which is 24 billion parameters. Now, as the name implies, this is designed to do very well at coding. And if you look at this SWE-bench verified benchmark, which tests an AI's performance on agentic coding, you can see that both the Devstral 2 models are actually very close to the state-of-the-art closed models out there, including Gemini 3 Pro or GPT 5.1 Codex Max. This is super impressive considering that this is open source and it's only 123 billion parameters, whereas I assume some of these closed models are like hundreds of billions or even over a trillion parameters in size. So I think this chart emphasizes this point better. So the x-axis is the model size, and then the y-axis is the SWE-bench verified performance. Ideally, you want to be in this upper left corner, which means you are performant and efficient. And as you can see, both Devstral models are up here. Now, it's important to say that they might be benchmaxing this a bit. In other words, they might have designed this model to do really well at this benchmark, but not the other benchmarks. Anyways, if you're interested in trying this out, as with the previous models from Mistral, they've already open sourced this. So here you can see they've released both Devstral models on Hugging Face. If I click on this small one here, and if I sum up the size of these models, it's roughly like 26 gigabytes in size, which is actually not bad. You can fit this on like a high-end consumer grade GPU. So if you need a lightweight open source model for agentic coding with Python, then Devstral Small might be a good fit for you. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main announcement page in the description below. Next up, this AI is pretty cool. It's called LightX, and this allows you to take an existing video, but you can change the camera movements of the video, plus you can also change the lighting of the video. So here are some examples of first relighting the video. On the left is the original video, and on the right is the relit video. So you can change this so that it has some like purple blue side lights like this. Or you can change this into this yellow sunset tone like this, and it's able to apply the lighting very accurately to the video. It's actually able to, detect the objects and the depth of everything in the video and apply the lighting very accurately. Now, in addition to just changing the lighting, we can also change the camera movement of an existing video. So again, on the left is the original video, and on the right is the resulting video with not only some new lighting, but also with a different camera perspective or movement. So it can change the video to widescreen, or it can zoom in a bit more. It can change the perspective of the video. It can change the camera movement. I mean, you can basically move the camera wherever you want in this scene. Here's another really cool application. You can cut out a character and put them in a new background and then plug it through this AI, and it's able to relight the characters so that they blend in seamlessly with this new background. Traditionally, it would take a lot of time to do this in a video editor, but this AI can just do it instantly for you. Or instead of just taking a character and putting them in a background, you can also use a reference image, which has the lighting you want, and apply that to the video. In addition to just the image lighting, you can also apply an HDR map to the video like this. So this is a super versatile tool. So really quickly, here's how it works. It would first take in your input video, and the AI would basically reconstruct a 3D point cloud from the video. So this is basically like a 3D generation of the scene. From this, if you choose to relight the video, it can also relight this point cloud, and then it would plug this data all the way back through here. And then afterwards, it goes through multiple diffusion transformer blocks to generate and relight the video and change the camera's perspective if you choose to. And then afterwards, it outputs your final video over here. The awesome thing is, if you scroll up to the top of the page, they've already released this for you to download. So if you click on this GitHub repo and you scroll down a bit, here it contains all the instructions on how to download and run this locally on your computer. They haven't specified the VRAM requirements for this, but if I click on their Hugging Face repo, the total size of their diffusion model is only 23 gigabytes in size, so you can likely fit this comfortably within a high-end consumer-grade GPU. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, we have this AI by Meta called OneStory, and this can generate multiple consistent clips of a scene from a text prompt or a reference image. So here's an example of 10 videos generated at once. Notice how consistent everything is. For example, the papaya tree remains consistent across the videos, and then the appearance of the husband and wife also remain consistent across all these videos. So you can then stitch them together to create a very coherent long story. Here's another example. This time it's of a different art style. And again, it's able to generate the scene, the characters, and the objects consistently across all 10 clips. Now, instead of just a text prompt, you can also just upload a reference image to use for your generation. So let's say you upload a photo of Jan LeCun. Well, you can then generate 10 videos of this person doing various things. And as you can see, he remains consistent across all the clips. Or we can do the same thing with this cat, and again, everything including the scene and the objects remain consistent throughout these generations. Really quickly, here's the magic behind it. The model treats each generation as like the next shot prediction. In other words, it focuses on generating the next scene based on what came before. So during inference, it actually keeps a memory bank of all the past shots and uses them one by one to generate longer multi-shot videos sequentially. And this system actually has two different modules. We have this frame selection, which basically chooses the most relevant frames from the previous shots to capture the overall context. And then we also have this adaptive conditioner, which compresses that context and feeds it efficiently into the generator to generate the next clip. So together, these parts basically help the model remember the story globally so that it can generate the next scene consistently. Now, because this is from Meta, like before, they haven't actually released anything yet. They've showcased a ton of image and video generators before, but they just haven't released anything. So I don't think they're going to release this either. But this is a very useful tool because current video generators can only make clips of like up to 10 seconds long. So there is a need for a tool that can create multiple consistent clips. Anyways, if you're interested in reading further, I'll link to this main page in the description below. Next up, this AI is also very useful. It's called Saber, and this is basically reference to video where you can upload a reference image of a person or object and it will insert them into the video. And the consistency is state of the art. For example, if we input a photo of Einstein, notice that for other tools like Phantom and Vase, I'm not sure why, but somehow, at least according to their generations, it wasn't able to insert Einstein, but Saber was able to do this very well. I think they might be cherry picking though, because, Phantom and Vase are already pretty good. But anyways, here are some other examples. This time we input these three ladies, and as you can see, it seems like Saber is the most consistent. For Phantom and Vase, their faces are kind of all messed up. They definitely don't look like the characters in the reference photos. And then same with this bull here. For both Phantom and Vase, they failed to actually get the bull correct, but Saber was able to do this very well. Here's another example where we can add multiple objects into the video, and as you can see, Saber was able to do this very well. Here's another example for your reference. Notice that the character consistency of Saber is really good. Here's an even trickier example where we have two screens, and notice that Saber was the only one that was actually able to capture all the details of the screens. So it's really good at consistency. There are a ton of examples on this page, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to go over everything, but if you scroll up to the top of the page, they have released a GitHub repo, and over here it says the training and inference code will be released once it has been organized. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, if you're interested in reading further or checking out more demos, I'll link to this main page in the description below. And that sums up all the highlights in AI this week. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. Which piece of news was your favorite, and which tool are you most looking forward to trying out? As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.